Hi, I'm Karen Quinn, the testing mom, and today I want to review my favorite products for preparing a child to take the WPPSI-4, or as it's known in New York City, the ERB test. The first resource I'm going to suggest to you is that you join testingmom.com as a top 1% member. This will give you access to all our practice questions for WPPSI-4, including the 8 subtests used for ERB, along with Testing Mom's new online game that prepares children for the pattern block subtest that is part of this assessment. To access these practice questions and games, just join testingmom.com as a top 1% member. Log into the site as usual and go to the blue bar on the left. Scroll down and select either WPPSI-4 if you want all the practice questions for the WPPSI-4, or NYC Private School ERB if you only want to practice for the 8 subtests that are given in New York City. I'm going to open up the tab for all the New York City Private School ERB practice questions so that you can see the 8 subtests covered there. But if you want practice questions for all the subtests on the WPPSI-4, just go to the WPPSI-4 tab and everything will be there. If you were to buy a workbook for ERB or WPPSI-4 preparation, you would spend anywhere from $150 to $500. TestingMom.com is the most economical option on the market today. If you were to join TestingMom.com for a month at the top 1% level, you would have access to over 1,500 practice questions for the full WPPSI-4 and over 1,200 practice questions for the ERB subtests that are given in New York for private school admission. The cost of TestingMom.com for a month would be about $39.99, and the cost would be less if you signed up for more than 1 month's membership. If you're a New York City parent whose child will take the ERB, TestingMom.com's New York City Private School tab includes a complete admissions prep kit, videos of private school workshops that we've put on with Victoria Goldman, the author of The Manhattan Family Guide to Private Schools, and links to all the websites of the New York City private schools, and much, much more. Let me show you just a few of the different types of practice questions for the WPPSI-4 or ERB that you would get with your membership. This is a practice question for the information section, where there are over 300 questions in total. The child would be asked which of these people are eating outside. The answer is the bottom right box. An older child might be asked, what utensils do you use when you eat soup? A spoon would be the correct answer. This is a practice question for the comprehension section, where there are 160 questions in total. These questions assess a child's understanding of social standards of behavior. Here, a child would be asked, what should you do when you meet someone for the very first time? The answer is the top left box. An older child might be asked, why shouldn't you hit someone when you're angry with them? This is a practice question from the vocabulary section, where there are about 350 questions in total. A younger child might be shown this picture and asked, what is this? The answer is an igloo. An older child might be asked, what is an igloo? They would be expected to verbally describe what an igloo is. Here is an example of a similarities question. Testing Mom has 170 similarities questions in total. A younger child might be asked, which one on the bottom is like the bugs on top? An older child might be asked, a spider and a fly are both what? The answer is bugs. This is a practice question from the Picture Concepts section, where there are 50 questions in total. The child is asked, which picture from the first row goes with a picture from the second row? Here, number 1 and 3 are both vegetables. These are practice questions for the bug search section, where Testing Mom offers 60 questions in total, substituting animals for bugs. On the actual tests, kids use a bingo dauber to stamp the bugs on the right that match the one in the shaded area. Now here's an example of a block design question. TestingMom.com has 100 block designs that children can copy, along with printable block tiles to use for this exercise. Top 1% members also have access to an online pattern block game called Space Baby Puzzles, where children match up to 8,000 block patterns that vary from easy to very complex. The game can be played on a computer or iPad after you've logged into TestingMom.com. Practicing this activity helps children build the visual spatial reasoning skills needed to match patterns on the block design subtest on the WPPSI or ERB test. And it's fun for kids to play because space babies come on and get all excited when they put the right blocks in the right space, and then they make sad noises when kids make mistakes. So this is a fun and unique way to get them ready for the block design subtest on the WPPSI or ERB. Finally, here's an example of a matrix reasoning question. The big starfish is to the little starfish as the big shell is to what? Testing Mom has 50 of these questions in its ERB section and hundreds more of these practice questions on other tests that also use matrix or analogy questions. The answer to this question is the second shell. Of course, if your child is taking the full WPPSI, TestingMom.com does have practice materials for all the subtests. There are practice questions for the cancellation subtest, where your child must stamp the images in the larger array of pictures that match the pictures along the top. TestingMom.com has a number of games that allow your child to practice for the zoo location subtest on the WPPSI. With the Space Baby Big Bang game, the parent puts 3 space babies into different spaceships and the child must put them back in the same locations. As with the zoo location subtest, this gets harder when more spaceships and more space babies are added to the equation. In summary, a top 1% membership to TestingMom.com, which is my website, can be purchased for about $39.99 a month, and the price does go down if you purchase your membership for a longer period of time. It's a great, affordable resource for any parent that wants to prepare their child for the WPPSI or ERB. And if you're a top 1% member, you get 25% off any workbooks we have in our store, including the ones I'm about to show you from Aristotle Circle. So now let's go over to the table where we'll look at these workbooks from Aristotle Circle. I know that many parents love doing workbooks with their children when preparing for a test like the WPPSI or ERB, as the private school test is called in New York City. If that sounds like you, the workbooks that I most recommend to prepare for this test is published by Aristotle Circle. Now, if you don't have any WPPSI or ERB materials from Aristotle Circle, their entire bundle for the WPPSI or ERB includes 3 workbooks. It includes some pattern tiles. It includes a bingo dauber that you use to stamp some of the answers for some of the questions. This is very similar to what's used on the actual test. And it includes some special cards that are needed for the zoo location subtest in the WPPSI. And this entire bundle sells for $4.99. This first workbook includes practice questions for all the WPPSI subtests that were carried over to WPPSI. And then the second 2 workbooks include all the new subtests in WPPSI. I counted over 1,300 questions and activities in these workbooks, so there is plenty of material to work with. Now, if you already have Aristotle Circle's WPPSI workbooks, you can just purchase the 2 WPPSI supplemental workbooks for $199. One thing that I really love about these workbooks is that they are very well organized. There are tabs that separate each section, so it's really easy to find the section that you want to work with. So let me open it up. So I'm opening this up, and there is a chart that details all the differences between the old WPPSI 3 and the new WPPSI 4. And the chart also explains the 8 subtests that are used for the New York City test. In addition, this book also gives you great detail about every single section that's on the new WPPSI 4. So it explains in great detail in this graph what each section is about and how you do it. Now, let's take a look at some of the different types of questions in the workbook. What I want you to do is I want you to see the artwork that they use, because Aristotle Circle has some of the best artwork out there. Okay, now with this, I'm going to pull out a picture concept question right here. And with this type of question, the child has to choose something on the top that goes with something on the bottom. So with this question here, the 2 cats go together. And with this question here, it's a truck, a crayon, a pencil, and a hamburger. The crayon and the pencil go together. But their artwork is just very, very nice. In this comprehension question, a younger child is asked to indicate which of these items in the picture is pointy. That would be the nail. Now, an older child might be asked a comprehension question like, why do we say please and thank you? And now here, we're going to look at a similarities question. Now here, a younger child would be asked to point to the thing on the bottom that is a car, like one of the things on top. An older child on a similarities question might be asked, apples and grapes are both what? Now, instead of bug search, Aristotle Circle has a candy hunt section activity. I mean, who wouldn't rather look for candy than bugs, right? So this activity teaches a child how to match a picture of candy on the left with a picture of candy or cookie or some kind of sweets on the right. Now here is where a child would actually use the bingo dauber that comes with the workbook. So the child would use the bingo dauber and stamp, here's a cookie that matches this cookie. And here the child would match the candy cane, would stamp this candy cane because it matches this candy cane. Okay? And then let's go to the information section. Here, a young child would be asked to point to something on this page that is cold. An older child might be asked a question without a picture, and that would be a question like, how many ears do you have? If your child is in New York City, only 8 subtests are given from the WPPSI 4 during the ERB test. But in most parts of the country, the entire WPPSI 4 would be given. All of the subtests from the WPPSI 4 are included in this package from Aristotle Circle, which would include animal coding, cancellation, zoo locations, picture memory, etc. Now, I especially love the activity they've come up with. I'm going to show it to you, for children to practice the skills needed for zoo locations. So what they've created are very similar to the zoo locations test, where on the real test it is places in a zoo, and the child puts cards of animals down in different places. Then the cards are removed and they have to remember where to put the animals in the same locations. And what they've done here is they've created something called Picnic Place. And what we have are picnic sort of place cards where you might be a child might be having a picnic, and there are cards with food items. So you might put on one of them an apple, and you might put here a hamburger, and then take them away. And the child has to remember that the apple goes here and the hamburger goes here. So it's a very similar activity to what is on the real test, only it's with picnic items as opposed to animals in the zoo. As I mentioned before, the artwork that Aristotle Circle puts into its workbooks is really excellent. They use bright colors. Let's see if I can find some more artwork for you. They use bright colors and engaging images that really do appeal to young children. And that means that your young child will really want to work with these books because the activity will feel like play. And just as important, each practice area in the Aristotle Circle workbook is true to the test, so a child who works with this material and masters it should do really well on the ERB or the WPPSI-4. Now, you can purchase these materials by going to testingmom.com and just click Store. And remember, our top 1% members get 25% off the purchase of all the products in our store, but including this product. So it's expensive, so that's a nice savings.